Hello, this is Rekindled. I want to thank you for being here and hearing what I have to say about The Kings Have Won. It has been almost a year since I published the book, and during that year I learned a lot. And I wanted to share first what led me to write this book, and also what the response has been and how I feel it is important for everyone to kind of read this book. I just got an email that said this would be required reading. I just received a comment on Facebook about the fact that this is a way history should be told in a compelling manner. So anyway, I just wanted to share what led me to write this book, and it's honestly, this has been an incredible journey, one in which I grew enormously. I worked in the visual field all my life as a photographer. I worked with painting. I played with multimedia, video, and also all my life I was a musician, played guitar, and this is actually what led me to actually come to America. The music was going to be my focus. It changed and I went to the visual field, but I was at a point in my life where I needed a challenge, and I decided to explore an area that was of interest of mine when I was a younger man. I decided to look at writing. Write short stories, easy things for me. Again, you have to remember this is my second language, and I didn't want to embark on any major project. But lo and behold, when I became an American, I ended up looking at a very monumental event in American history that, for some reason, when I shared with my friend, very few knew what I was talking about, and I could go on. I mean, the book covers from Hamilton all the way to 2008 crisis, and I skipped some of the stories that it was just too many, and I ran out of steam. And so maybe it's for another book. But in the meantime, I decided to start, as I learned, to use these stories and these events that I was discovering to write short stories. And so I began. And it began, I think, with the bank plot. This is about General Smedley Darlington Butler, one of the most decorated generals in American history. And I found the story fascinating, and then from then on it was just like one after the other. Bank war, the 1929 crash, 2008 crisis, the executive order that Kennedy put into place that I didn't know, I never heard of it, and shocked me when I heard about it. I didn't want to retell the events in a boring manner. I didn't want to do a book that would, and there's nothing wrong with it, but I didn't want to do a boring book. I wanted to create characters that one would get attached to, but also one would learn through the information that I would deliver through the story. For instance, and one of my favorite stories was really, and I just got an email, and I know I keep relating to emails that I get, but I just received an email from one of the gentlemen that was part of the group I was in, the writers group I was in, and he said, I just finished your book, and this story reads like a fable. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is, so much what I was trying to do. You read a fable, but in the meantime, you learn that, which was my goal, is that you learn that the Battle of Waterloo, which is a very popular right now with the release of the Napoleon movie by Ridley Scott, you learn that the Rothschild financed both sides of the war, knowing all too well that they were going to get repaid either way. The person who would win the battle would end up taking on the debt of the loser. And so, I found that fascinating, and then I looked into it, and I discovered that the Rothschild had a huge and very powerful network of messengers, and they would transport gold, messages, and so on. And I found that, wow, this is great. And so each story I decide, okay, here are the facts. How am I going to tell it? I found myself with 20 to 22, 23 stories, something like that, and decided to cut down to 19 stories. First version of the book is presented into two parts. Through the years after the release of my book, I realized that maybe I could just go chronologically from beginning to end. Also, the book cover may have been misleading a little bit, so I wanted two things. One, to create a cover that would represent more the historical events, so I included, some of the president's faces, Rothschild, J.P. Morgan, and also I decided to go chronologically, so I reordered the book, and we start now with Hamilton, which I think is a beautiful story. The book for me has an incredible value in the sense that it will teach you a great deal about many of the monumental events that happen in American history. And I call it the battle for the wealth of our nation, because really it's between the aristocrat, the 1%, what I call the kings, our kings. And the difference between the kings of old and the kings of today is you don't know who they are. They don't want you to know who they are. I mean, if I ask you, can you list who are the 1%? You probably can't, so few people, some people would be able to do that, but most people, they don't know. They know we have a 1%. They know they're above all. They control everything. They're above power. And this book shows you that, not from what I say, but from actually documents and quotes by presidents and so on. So I hope you get a chance to read this book. I want to be honest with you. If you haven't read the book yet and you cannot afford it, please let me know. I'm happy to send a copy. This really, I think it's more important for everyone to know what this book is about and the information that it contains, than for me to make a few bucks, because I think the book is so powerful that it will leave you first flabbergasted by the information you will get, and also a more discerning eye as you go on through your day and you look at the news and you understand when Jerome Powell, the current chairman of the Federal Reserve, when he speaks and what it really means. So I hope you get a chance to read it. You can reach out to me. The best way is on my website as adriangold.com. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. If you have any questions, please send them, and I will be happy to respond as soon as I can. Thank you very much.